stop blustering angrily and just actually answer the questions. It's increasingly clear the Liberals don't take hostile foreign influence seriously, and Canadians are suffering the consequences.
Well, here we have two contrasting attempts at it. I think they both do a great job. First, Rosemary Faulk, MP. She's really, we don't know her, but she seems like a really nice person. And then MP Stubbs, who just gets them good with a good zinger. Check this out.
Honourable Member for Battleford's Lloydminster.
Mr. Speaker, we have nowhere near enough rapid tests to isolate infections and protect our seniors. And now with no real plan, this government is also failing our seniors on vaccines. Seniors are tired. They want their lives back. They have already missed out on birthdays and family gatherings, and now the Prime Minister wants them to miss Christmas too. Mr. Speaker, what next does the Prime Minister want our seniors to miss?
Good question. Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, first let me thank Canadians who are making extraordinary efforts and sacrifices to protect each other, in fact. It's Canadians that are working together to get us through this time. It's small business owners adapting and changing the ways that they do business so that they can support their workers. And we're there with them, Mr. Speaker, with wage subsidies, with subsidies for people who've lost their jobs, with supports for seniors, with supports for long-term care, with supports for provinces and territories to actually care for people in long-term care homes. Mr. Speaker, we've distributed over 7.2 million rapid tests to provinces and territories to date, and we're there to help them implementing their use.
Honourable Member for Battleford's Lloydminster.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, but that answer is not good enough. Our seniors have been isolated and separated from their loved ones for not weeks, but months. They need to know that there's a real plan to navigate through this pandemic. But this Liberal government refuses to be upfront and honest with them. They refuse to offer these seniors the hope that comes with a plan. They deserve better. Mr. Speaker, will the minister finally offer seniors the clarity that they deserve and tell them when they can expect to have access to a vaccine?
Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, every step of the way, we've been there to support seniors, and particularly in long-term care homes, where, in fact, we use the Canadian Armed Forces to help support provinces and territories who are struggling to care for seniors under their care. And, Mr. Speaker, we're going to be there for seniors in long-term care every step of the way. We've committed, through our fall economic statement, $1 billion to ensure that there's national standards. No matter where you live, people deserve to age in dignity. We've been there for provinces and territories. We'll continue to be there so they can deliver on their healthcare responsibilities.
Comment. Okay, first we have the NDP and then MPPs, and just setting it all up for MP Stubbs for the finale. It's fantastic, we think. Does a good job off the cuff. That's what makes it good.
The time to work together.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Thank you. Well, only the most tone-deaf government would say they stand with seniors by letting the standards get so bad they had to send the army in. But, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are eagerly awaiting a safe, effective COVID vaccine so they can see their loved ones and return to their daily lives without worrying about spreading the virus. Yesterday, though, Pfizer confirmed it will be distributing half the amount of vaccine doses it had originally proposed, citing supply chain issues. Now, we've heard from this government that Canadians are getting 4 million doses of Pfizer's vaccine before March. Is that still the plan? Will the minister explain what Pfizer's supply problems mean for Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've been consistent in communicating our delivery window in Q1 of 2021, and given the number of variables and the novelty of the process, we're still communicating the delivery window in Q1 of 2021. We do not anticipate any impact on delivery of Pfizer vaccine to Canada, which is expected to begin in the first quarter of 2021 as planned.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
Canadians are rightly worried by the Pfizer news, and the government owes them answers. Talking about a diverse portfolio of vaccines won't change the fact that Canada is way behind other countries. The UK has already approved a vaccine. In the US, the vaccine is being stockpiled on American soil while they await approval. And other countries like Germany, India, China, Brazil, the US, and UK are all producing vaccine in their own countries to ensure fast delivery. None of that is happening in Canada. Why did the Liberals like Canada fall so behind these other countries?
Secretary Parlementaire de la
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Services.
Many accounts is far ahead of other countries with the most diversified, most promising portfolio of vaccine candidates in the world. In fact, the first four, which we've received very good and promising news for, are all in Canada's portfolio. More good news will be to come, of course, pending the regulatory processes. And when a vaccine is ready, Canada will be ready, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Well, Mr. Speaker, international security experts are raising alarm bells about recent global cyber attacks against supply cold chains targeting vaccine transportation. This is a direct threat to Canada's vaccine rollout, but the Liberals have their heads in the sand. This Liberal government has already ignored the advice from our Five Eye partners when it comes to banning Huawei. Is the Prime Minister taking this threat seriously, or is he ready to gamble with the lives of Canadians and just roll the dice?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, this government has repeatedly risen to the occasion when it comes to procuring PPE for Canadians, when it comes to assembling the best vaccine candidates perhaps in the world, when it comes to supplying provinces, collaborating with provinces. Briefly, Mr. Speaker, we've come up with, at every step of the way, a response to this unprecedented pandemic. What we haven't come up with, though, is a response to the member from Hastings, Lennox and Addington, a member that member sits in caucus with every week, that he should turn around and stop this anti-vaxxing nonsense, stop this anti-science campaign, and get on the program with communicating with Canadians.
Honourable Member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, this is why Canadians don't trust this government, because all they get is political rhetoric. It was recently revealed that the Canadian Armed Forces are preparing for the potential criminal and cyber attacks that could attack our vaccine distribution network, but the Liberal government's track record when it comes to cybersecurity is just abysmal. You know, they don't have the guts to ban Huawei from our 5G network and rarely prosecute cybercrime in this country. How can Canadians trust this Liberal government to protect our desperately needed COVID vaccines?
Parliament Secretary.
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, we've come up with every day, and in fact we're briefing Canadians now every week on the process and on the progress of our distribution and logistics effort, and there'll be more news on that today, Mr. Speaker. But these conspiracy theories keep coming from the opposition over there. They've always been a little bit fuzzy on science over there, so I'm giving him an occasion to stand up for once and for all and express on behalf of that party confidence in the Health Canada regulators, in the science of vaccines, and the end of this pandemic that was brought about as a result of the efforts of this government, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Stop blustering angrily and just actually answer the questions. It's increasingly clear the Liberals don't take hostile foreign influence seriously, and Canadians are suffering the consequences. They refuse to answer questions on a potentially politically exposed person in their own caucus. They won't make a decision to ban Huawei, going against our own intelligence officials and our allies. And now it seems they put all hopes for a vaccine in a company whose executives worked in a program investigated by CSIS. Unreal. Was this government briefed on potential security threats about partnering with CanSino?
Honourable Parliament Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we have repeatedly put in place plans for PPE. We've collaborated with provinces. We've risen to the occasion. We've put in place plans for the acquisition of vaccines and have promising candidates and an amazing portfolio of candidate vaccines. We have now plans for logistics and distribution, and we're working very, very closely, of course, with our partners in the provinces and across this country on that. But what we don't have is a response that member should provide on behalf of her party. Look behind her, talk to that member from Hastings, Lennox and Addington, and tell him to stop this anti-vaxxing nonsense.
Well, it's getting order. It's getting more difficult to hear the exchange in here. It is Friday after all. The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Again, a really long answer and lots of blustering and berating, but no actual concrete answers on the question I asked. So I think here's the truth. If the Liberals actually took security officials seriously and actually listened to them, Canada wouldn't be so far behind the rest of our allies. On Global News, a former CSIS official said this government is ignoring ignoring security warnings and lacks a coordinated plan to combat the risk from China. He said, quote, "The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and the National Research Council has been abused by China before in this way." So how could the Liberals just ignore all the security threats when partnering with CanSino?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary, Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
We've been negotiating vaccine candidate agreements since last summer, and we have a very diversified portfolio, and we're very, very confident in the promising news, of course, that comes out. But what we wanted to understand here, and what I think is very important for this member to do, is to stand up on behalf of her party and put an end to these crazy anti-science, anti-vaxxing, anti-end of pandemic conspiracy theories that emanate from the dark recesses of the Conservative Party.
And MP Stephen McKinnon, he does a pretty good job hitting back. And you don't see this much from the Liberals. It's a different attempt on their side. Anyway, I think is an outstanding House of Commons. And there's more to follow, part 2 of Friday. Have a good day. Stay tuned.